Alright, guys. So now let's take a look at our last review. Review 5. Question number 1. We're dealing with inequalities, and we look at the instructions to solve each inequality and graph its solution. Let me put the instructions up there. So all we gotta do, separate them through the inequality side. Letters on one side, numbers on the other. But for inequalities, let's keep the letters on the left and numbers on the right. So my negative 6 on over here, I'm going to move it to the other side as a plus 6. Every time I move something from one side to the other, we switch the sign. Bless you. So on the left side, I have negative 10m. On the right side, I have 50. Right, 44 plus 6 gave me 50. Now, let me divide by the number in front of the letter. So in this case, let me divide by negative 10. And I'm going to have m is less than negative 5. Do you notice that I flip the sign? Every time we multiply or divide by a negative, which we divided by negative, every time we multiply or divide by negative, we switch the sign. So my important number is negative 5. That's this number. I'm going to circle it. If it had the little line at the bottom, I'm talking about something like this or something like this. If it had the line at the bottom, fill the circle. We call it a closed circle, like fill it in. If it has the line at the bottom, our case it does not. Notice how my arrow is pointing towards the left. So my arrow here, I'm going to include everything to the left of my circle. We read this as m is less than negative 5. So everything less than negative 5 is to the left. Once again, keep the letters on the left, numbers on the right. Every time you multiply, divide by negative, flip the sign. Let's take a look at another one. Take a look at number 2. My plus 7, I'm going to move it to the right as a negative 7. So I have that 8k is greater than 40. Now let me divide by 8. So I'm going to get k is greater than 5. I did not flip the sign because I divided by a positive 8. So my important number is 5. In this case, I go towards the right. Right, k is greater than 5. Everything to the right of 5. All right, so on the review, I gave you guys 8 questions. On the final, there's 4 of these. Any questions for the first 8? Number 6. All right, let's take a look at number 6. The negative 4, I'm going to move it to the right side as a plus 4. So I have that n over 5 is less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 7 positive 4 is negative 3. Now this is a division, so I'm going to do the opposite. Let me multiply both sides by 5. So I'm going to have n is less than or equal to negative 15. I know my answer is negative. I did not flip the sign because technically I multiplied by a positive 5. So my important number is negative 15. This case, I do fill it in. Right, you guys see the little line at the bottom? So in this case, I do fill it in, and I go towards the left. Any other questions on the first 8? 4? Number 4, I'm going to move the negative 9 to the right side as a plus 9. So I'm going to have the b over 2 is less than negative 5. A fraction is division. The opposite of dividing is multiplied. So let me multiply both sides by 2. So I'm going to get b is less than negative 10. So negative 10, I don't fill it in. In this case, I go towards the left. Since the letter is written first, we respect the direction of the arrow. Any other questions for the first 8? Now, looking at question number 9, what is 41% of 44? Every time I give you guys a percent, and I'm asking you guys a percent of something, just multiply the two numbers. Right? Every time you want to know the percent of something, just multiply it. But 41%, let me write it as a decimal. Remember, move the decimal 2 places to the left. So I'm going to have 0.41. That's 41%. and then 44. Multiply those two numbers, and you should get 41 times 44. You should get 18.04. Every time you want to know the percentage of something, just multiply the numbers, but make sure a percent you write it as a decimal. So on the review, you guys have 19 through 16. On the final, you have 4 of these. Any questions up until 16? As a matter of fact, this is when I remember when we dealt with discount and markup and all that stuff. I was just asking you guys a percentage of something. Remember, we used to just multiply. All right, now looking at number 17, solve each equation. All we gotta do first is get rid of parentheses. So I know I'm gonna multiply the negative 3 to the inside. So my negative 8r has nothing to do with parentheses. I'm just gonna copy negative 8r. Now my negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. My negative 3 times r is negative 3r, and this is equal to 85. Then I'm going to separate them to the equal sign, letters on one side, numbers on the other. So my negative 3, I'm going to move it to the right as a plus 3. On the left, a negative 8r, a negative 3r, that's negative 11r. On the right, 85 plus 3, that's 88. Now divide by the number in front of the letter. So in this case, divide by negative 11. R is negative 8. So once again, no parentheses, letters on one side, numbers on the other. Simplify each side, and then divide by the number in front of the letter. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at, let me skip a few. Take a look at one that has 2 parentheses. So let me take a look at number 25. For the first parentheses, let me multiply this 4 to the inside. So I get 4r plus 4. For the second parentheses, let me multiply this positive 4 to the inside. So I get negative 32r minus 24. And this is all equal to 64. I want letters on one side, numbers on the other. So my plus 4, I'm going to move it as a negative 4. And my negative 24, I'm going to move it as a plus 24. So on the left side, when I combine my letters, 4r, negative 32r, that gives me negative 28r. Right. Different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the large one. Now looking on the right, I know 64 minus 4 is 60, but 60 plus 24 gives me 84. Now let me divide by negative 28. R, 84 divided by negative 28 is negative 3. Remember, in division, if the signs are different, it's negative. 84 divided by 28 was 3. So even though there were more parentheses, still, no parentheses, letters on one side, numbers on the other, simplify each side, and then divide by the number in front of the letter. I'm not going to do 24 unless you guys want me to, but one thing with number 24, make sure you multiply the 2 to the inside. Get rid of parentheses. Do not combine 8 plus 2. Like I said, don't combine the 8 and the 2. First thing you have to do is multiply the 2 in the inside. Get rid of parentheses. Do not combine the 8 plus 2. I know I gave you guys plenty of practice. On the review, I gave you guys questions 17 through 32. But on the test, there's only 4 of these. But I figured this will help you guys practice. So put in plenty of these. Any questions at all. Which one? Number 8. All right, so for number 8, my plus 3, I'm going to move it to the right side as a negative 3. So I'm going to have that 6n is less than or equal to negative 102. Let me divide by 6. I'm going to get that n is less than or equal to negative 17. I know my answer is negative. I did not flip the sign because technically I divided by positive 6. So my key number is negative 17. In this case, we do fill it in because of the line at the bottom. And I'm going to go towards the left. Any other questions? Okay, you guys should have 5 reviews. Okay, we spent the whole week. Finish them over the weekend if you guys haven't finished them. You guys have a 3-day weekend. Finish them over the weekend, and then we'll deal with them on Tuesday. Okay. Let me take roll really quick.